I moved my dad home from a facility due to the high costs of assisted living, along with the situation in the world today.
I firmly believe that keeping Dad in his own home with the love, care, and attention he's received has enhanced his life. At 90 years old, he's still the man I grew up with. He's still my dad, and you can't measure that.
In this episode of Decoding Dayton, we meet up with a good friend of ours, Carrie Scarff from Five Rivers MetroParks. Carrie, John, and I decode the Wolf Creek Corridor and the future of the Riverfront Master Plan.
Good. Good. We're excited about this episode.
Yeah.
Wolf Creek Corridor.
Wolf Creek Corridor. Here we are at the mouth of the Wolf Creek. The great thing about the Wolf Creek is, of the 4 waterways that come into Dayton, the Wolf Creek is the one that's the most accessible, you know? You can wade in the Wolf Creek. You know, kids can play in the Wolf Creek. And the neighborhoods come right up to it. It's a real story as we go all the way down this probably 2 or 3 miles to Wesleyan Metropark. There's just story after story.
All right, well, let's get on this journey.
Okay, I'm gonna hop on my bike, ride up the bike trail, and meet you at the next stop.
All right.
Okay.
Well, let's go.
Our first stop along the way is to learn some interesting tidbits at the Paul Lawrence Dunbar House.
Here we are.
Yeah, here we are.
And this street is beautiful. I love this cobblestone street. What is this street called, Carrie?
Summit.
Summit
Street.
So before it became Paul Lawrence Dunbar, Summit.
It was originally built named Summit Street because the further south you go, it goes up high, and it's actually the summit of the gentle hill. As you go up 3rd Street, 5th Street in Germantown, it goes up, and then Summit Street is actually at the top. And it was a pretty prestigious street. Doctors, professionals, poets.
The irony is that Paul Lawrence Dunbar actually mentions Summit Street in his poetry. So the poets are so disappointed when they get here and it's not Summit Street.
All 3 houses are part of the museum complex, including a house around the back. And that's the carriage house that went with the Dunbar property. So we're actually, are we on?
I think we're on.
All right.
I think we've always been on.
Okay.
Johnny and his mic crack me up. Never a dull moment on Decoding Dayton. As we approach the Paul Lawrence Dunbar Bridge, the convergence of neighborhoods and nature is interesting.
2 different sides on this bridge.
There are. To our east, towards downtown, is the heavily engineered side with the engineered levees. This other side, where the railroad bridge is, really starts the preserve side. And what we'll be doing later today is digging more into the preserve side, and we started off more on the engineering side. Got the Wolf Creek neighborhood over here on the south, the Paul Lawrence Dunbar Historic District, and Southern Dayton View here on the north. And again, this is really a conversation about how do you connect Northwest Dayton and Dayton's west side. The new Dayton Riverfront Master Plan is a different kind of narrative because it's not about how the rivers have separated it. It's about how the system brings us all together and fuses the entire community together with these ribbons of green and blue. There are more churches in West Dayton than any other quadrant of the city, and all the churches here in some way, shape, or form have engaged themselves or have been engaged for a long time with their neighborhoods, and they're really community anchors, each and every one of them.
On the Wolf Creek, those levees are really steep. You can see the Miami Conservancy District just laid one back a little bit there, but they're really steep because the west side was so busy and bustling that everybody built right up to the edge of the creek. And so when we had to go back in 100 years ago and create a flood control system, those levees got really, really steep to allow those buildings to remain.
I think we should hop on the train.
Oh, that's a great idea. And in fact, we ought to finish today's tour on the train.
The whole way?
The whole way, all the way out. So
We can do that.
There's a way we can catch the train up here. Why don't we go up there and we'll hop the train and head out that way.
All right, let's go.
That's great.
Imagination is key when decoding. Where's our next stop on the corridor?
Oh, here we are at Rosedale Prairie. Maybe we should stop. Okay, let's stop. There we go. All right, let's get off. This is a beautiful prairie. So part of the Riverfront Master Plan really calls for this potentially being part of the expanded preserve.
Right. Well, our idea is that on both sides of the Wolf Creek, all the way from downtown up to Wesleyan Metropark, it's a park. So all of these neighborhoods can come to Wolf Creek and they can fish. The city of Dayton just built the bikeway. It continues on up all along that prairie. These west neighborhoods, they don't really know about the creek. They don't use the creek because we've had years of being walled off from the creek.
Yeah.
But the Dayton Riverfront Plan envisions that the Wolf Creek becomes this spine of recreation for all of these neighborhoods that are surrounding us.
We're going to find a little pot of gold, and then I think we're headed towards Five Rivers, the Wesleyan Metropark.
Right.
And you'll see that the railroad connects out to there also.
Anytime Johnny says there's gold ahead, you can bet it's going to be pretty interesting.
All right.
Okay. So, Johnny,
Yeah.
what's going on here?
Okay, well, first of all, we're in Westwood.
Okay.
We're in Dayton's west side.
All right.
That's the Emerald Corridor of Wolf Creek over there.
All right.
Westwood's a really historic neighborhood. And I've got a little place I want to show you. And I have a mythical story that goes with it.
Mythical, huh?
Yeah, it's mythical. I've never done my technical research on it, so I'm going with the stories that everybody else has told me,
Okay.
with my own little twist.
I feel like this is a special house we're coming to.
Well, it is a special house, and it's built into the bluff.
This is amazing.
So the stories that I've heard is that this is Civil War era construction, many additions. You'll see the first level is all limestone. There's stucco on the top. I don't know if there's brick or if that's limestone. But the story I've been told is that this is the family of Jonathan Winters.
Oh, really?
Wow.
But I don't. This is a mythological story that someone probably needs to track down.
I don't know how Johnny knows so much about Dayton, but I love it. Let's keep exploring Wolf Creek.
This is Wesleyan Metropark, and it's tucked back in here behind this neighborhood right along the Wolf Creek. This is a little neighborhood park for the residents that surround here. They helped us build this playground. We ordered all the material, organized a bunch of volunteers, and they came in on a Saturday and boom, this whole playground went up. And behind this, you can see the boulders over there and the logs. And as you go back in there, this is a nature play site. So, you know, kids today are on devices for over 8 hours a day. They have their faces in a screen for over 8 hours a day, and they are getting in outside about 7 minutes a day. So we've got to do what we can to make sure they have, you know, some connection to nature and where we all came from.
John, this bridge is fantastic.
It is incredible. It's the railroad that the city uses to connect all the development sites in northwest Dayton and Trotwood that have rail access. But this originally connected Dayton to Richmond and Indianapolis. Since this is really all about the Wolf Creek corridor, this bridge is, number of these bridges are what connect and fuse northwest Dayton to Dayton's west side. And for decades, folks in this town have talked about the rivers separating the community. This corridor is actually what fuses and connects the community.
Carrie and I check out Adventure Central while Johnny kicks back to soak up some vitamin D.
Action.
Action? You mean like now?
Action, act now.
Oh, wait for the cars.
This is Adventure Central at Wesleyan Metropark, and Adventure Central is so cool. This is free after-school care for about 100 kids in partnership with 4-H and Ohio State University Extension. They get a full meal.
Wow.
They get help with their homework, and then we get them outside.
and then they get the nature.
That's right, exactly.
That's really cool. When I think of 4-H, I'm thinking of like Clark County, I'm thinking of like a rural type setting.
Yeah.
But here, that's
But
nice.
here, I know.
Yeah.
They, I think they recognize that you can't just serve the suburbs or the rural area. The urban core has these needs too.
Absolutely.
And so it's a great partnership.
Adventure Central serves such a vital role to the K through 12 kids in the local area. We got to meet with Gary, a parent who shares what a great impact this program has had on his family.
Well, I found out about Adventure Central probably 12 years ago when I was in need of some after-school programming for the kids and homework help. Help in between the interim between me getting off from work and the kids getting dinner and doing their homework and stuff. So it's like a big family atmosphere. The kids get help with their homework. They're fed. They're interacted in classrooms, and they take them out in the spring and they do park stuff and creek stuff. So it's pretty sweet.
Being outside in nature calms our minds and relieves our stresses. Today we saw how a prairie, a creek, and the playgrounds of the Wolf Creek corridor are connected to Dayton neighborhoods. Where will we pop up next? Stay tuned to Decoding Dayton to find out more. Thank you for your support.